Hi, class. My name is Tianci. I will be your substitute teacher for today. Um, your regular teacher's away. Let's get started with class. Okay. Let's start off with some vocab now. So we're gonna start off with some vocab practice. So can I have a student read it for me? Let's start off with Jason.
Okay, brandish, verb, definition, move or swing back and forth, exhibit aggressively, wave around aggressively. Example, Tyron felt a sudden urge to leap up, brandish his axe and boom out. Casterly rock, but the insanity passed quickly and he crouched down lower.
Okay, so it means
Third, verb,
wait, hold on, stop. Let's just do the one for now. So brandish means to move or swing back and forth really fast or aggressively. So that's how we would use that word. And the next one, can I have George read it for me?
Interpretation pursue coronary wash detective the sense.
Wait, hold on. George, can you try it again? Can you read? I can't hear you. Can you read it again? George?
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay. George, can you read the word definition?
Yeah. Can wait a minute.
Oh, sure. Um, I'm just gonna ask Nathan to read it. I don't want to waste time. Nathan, can you read it?
Discern. Definition. Perceive, recognize, or detect with the senses. To distinguish. To distinguish. Example. Between the echoing blasts of fireworks, I discerned a flapping sound like the unfurling of membranous wings.
Okay, so discern means to perceive, recognize, or detect. Now, the assignment is, can you please write a short story or paragraph using the word brandish and discern? The prompt for this paragraph is, the world has been silent for a week. No bird songs, no car engines, and no sounds of life. Then speak directly. Then a voice speaks directly into your mind. What does it say and how do you react? So I'll give you a couple minutes for this. To everyone that joined, we are doing some vocab. So the words are brandish and discern. So brandish means to move or swing back and forth, really aggressively, roughly. And discern means to perceive, recognize, or detect with your senses. So basically to distinguish. And we're basically writing a story that uh, is based off the prompt. The world has been silent for a week. No birds, songs, no car engines, no sounds of life. Then what voice speaks directly into your mind. What does it say and how do you react? That's for Amy who joined. Hi everyone, how is their set? Everyone's paragraphs coming along. I haven't received any. Are you guys almost done?
I'm on my last sentence.
Okay.
Almost.
Okay. George, are you almost done?
Yeah.
Amy?
Like I've just joined.
Pardon? Oh, you just started? Okay, that's okay. Keep writing. Submit it when you're done, and your teacher will take it up next class. Okay, I got one. I'm waiting for one more, and then we'll take it up. Okay, I got Nathan's. I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna take up Nathan's while we wait for everyone else's. All right, can you read it for me?
After the world had completely shut off for a week, I decided that I had enough. I needed to explore other places in the world for resources. However, as I was brandishing through my drawers, I heard a mysterious voice in my mind. I would dis I was discerned to it because it sounded like my mother, who died in a car accident a month ago. Her voice repeatedly said, "The time has come. The time has come." However, before I could think about it, I saw something in the sky, looking like a meteor. Suddenly, it came crashing down, and my surroundings blacked out.
Okay. After the world completely shut off for a week. Explored the world for resources. However, I was brandishing through my drawers. You don't have to say however. You can just say as I was brandishing through my drawers, I heard a mysterious voice and I was just turned to it because it sounded like my mother who died. A month ago, her voice replied, said, "The time has come, the time has come." However, before I could think of. So you can even say acknowledge it. Let's make our vocab a little better. Acknowledge it. I saw something in the sky. It looked like a meteor, and suddenly it came crashing down, and my surroundings went black. Good job. Okay, and then I got one more. George. Can you read it for me?
Yeah. For a week, the wind had been silent and some snow away
Slow
under the
down, hold on,
sun.
stop. Slow down and start from the beginning. Yep.
For a week, the world had been silent and some snow away until the voice echoed in my mind. We must
Wait. Your mom, enunciate your words and slow down. Say this word again. What is this word?
uh, wait a minute.
No minute. If you're using ChatGPT, I can tell. So you can stop using that and just tell me if you could sound this word out.
Echoed,
Echoed.
echoed,
Okay, keep going.
echoed in my mind. We must discern the truth before it's too late. Hearing pounding like brandish the
Wait,
rusty
stop.
pipe.
What is this word?
Heard,
Heart.
heard,
Okay.
heard, heard pounding like brandish the rusty pipe. But as the silence pressed in once more, I realized that the real dangers wasn't what I could say, it was what I couldn't.
Okay. Thank you. Brother, every stone was echoed in my brain instant. Brandished a rusted pipe, but as the silence pressed on, let's see, it was based on what I couldn't. Okay, good job. Jason?
Yes, just the last sentence.
Okay, quickly, please. Amy, I know you started, but did you finish?
No.
Okay, we're gonna move on. We're gonna read into the short story. Okay, perfect. Jason, thank you for sending that in. We're gonna take it up now, right before we go to the short story. Okay, and okay, can you read it for me?
Lying on the sofa, enjoying the warm sun on Sunday, I was trying to get used to the silent world. Despite the fact that it made people feel peace, I couldn't bear it anymore. Suddenly, a voice speaks directly into my mind. You can do something to make the world alive and vivid again. Yeah, why can't I do something instead of just lying here? I took great pride in myself and ran in a great mood in my backyard, like a winning soldier brandishing. Without hesitation, I made sounds of my own. It was like a horn, leading everything alive again. Birds sing, people laugh, everything went to normal.
Okay, laying on the sofa, enjoying the warm sun on a Sunday. Let's add more details so we can say Sunday afternoon. I was trying to get used, as I was trying to get used, as I was trying to get used to the silent world. despite the fact that many people felt peace. Many people felt peace to the world. Felt peace. I couldn't bear it anymore. Suddenly, a voice speaks directly into my mind. You can do something to make, so this should be capitalized. You can do something to make the world alive and vivid again. And so then you can say, I agreed with the voice. To which I agreed. I took great pride in myself. I ran into my backyard in a great mood. Into my backyard in a great mood, like a winning soldier. Ran, ran like a winning soldier, brandishing into. Oh, okay, we're gonna copy this. Copy here. I took great pride and ran okay, like a winning soldier, brandishing, brandishing into my backyard. So we can even take this out. Ran like a willing soldier, brandishing into my backyard. All right. So okay. With, without hesitation, I made noises of my own. Sound. So you can say noises of my own. Such as a horn, such as a horn, and it led to everything, led to the restoration of noise, restoration of the world. Birds singing, birds singing, people laughing, and everything went back to not being normal. Okay, good job, Jason. Just a couple things. Back to normal. So, try and like reformat your paragraph so that it's condensed. You don't need too much explanation, but enough details that it would be sufficient. And just double check your work by reading it out loud. So let's go into the short story portion of our class. To start today's class off, we're going to be practicing our reading comprehension skills with the short story. After the reading, we will be completing multiple choice and long answer questions. So the story is The Forgotten Signal. So let's have Melinda read it.
The sky was an eerie
Eerie.
shade of purple as Ethan stepped off the last train of the night. The station was empty save for a single flickering light and distant echo of dripping water. His phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Don't look back. A chill ran down his spine as he glanced around, but no one was there. He shook off the unease and started walking home, the sound of his footsteps swallowed by the night. As he turned onto his street, he noticed something odd. His house was completely dark. He was sure he had left the porch light on, yet now only shadows stretched across the front yard. His phone vibrated again. You left the door unlocked. Panic surged through him as he realized he couldn't remember locking it before leaving. He hesitated before slowly pushing the door open, his breath hitching as the hinges creaked.
Good job. Amy?
Inside, everything seemed normal at first. The furniture was in place, the air carried the familiar scent of his mother's lavender candle. But something felt wrong. He reached for the light switch, but nothing happened. Just then, his phone screen lit up. Don't turn on the lights. They'll know you're here. His pulse thundered as he fought the urge to run. Who was sending these messages? A soft creak came from the hallway. Ethan turned sharply, his eyes locking into the darkened corridor ahead. His mind raced. Was someone in the house? The air felt heavier, pressing down on him like an invisible force. He forced himself to take a step forward, the floorboards groaning beneath him. As he reached the end of the hallway, his phone vibrated again. Too late.
Nathan?
His heartbeat pounded against his ribs. Slowly he pushed open his bedroom door. His room was exactly as he had left it, except for one thing. A notebook sat open on his desk. A message scrawled in his own handwriting. You should have listened. His stomach dropped. He hadn't written that. He never owned a notebook like that. His hands shook as he reached for it, only for the pages to flip on their own. The words seemed to rearrange themselves, forming a new sentence. They are watching. Run. A shadow moved in the corner of his eye, sending him stumbling back. He whirled around, but nothing was there, just the empty hallways stretching behind him. His breath came in short gasps as he grabbed his phone, frantically typing a message to his best friend. But the screen remained frozen, no signal.
Jason?
The creaking sound returned, this time from directly behind him. Ethan turned, every muscle in his body tense. The air felt electric, charged with something unseen. The shadow by the desk grew darker, stretching toward him like ink spreading through water. Then the last message appeared on his phone. Look up. Ethan hesitated, his body frozen between logic and fear. Slowly, he tilted his head toward the ceiling. The last thing he saw was a pair of hollow eyes staring back at him before the screen of his phone flickered and went black.
Good job. Now let's answer these questions. What is the most likely purpose of the unknown messages Ethan receives? George? George?
Yeah.
What is the answer for number one? What is the most likely purpose of the unknown messages Ethan receives?
Mm, I think number it's B.
Yes, B is correct. They serve as warnings about supernatural presence. How does the author create suspense in this story? Melinda.
Um, can I read it first?
Yeah.
Um, B.
Yes, by using short, abrupt sentences and eerie descriptions. Okay, now we're gonna go into our short answers. How does the author use setting to build the atmosphere in the story? Provide at least two examples and explain their impact. What roles does foreshadowing play? And the second one is what roles does foreshadowing play in the story. Provide 2 examples and explain how they hint the climax. And I'm going to paste the story in the comments so that you can review it as well. Everyone. Oh, it's over the limit.
Do we answer both of them?
Yes, you answer both of them. Or we can do one at a time. Let's do one at a time to save time. So let's do the first one right now, and then after that, we'll pick up the second one. I'm pasting the story in the chat so you can see it too. The story's in the chat as well, guys. So we're answering number 1, so I'll give you a couple minutes for that. So how does the author use setting to build that atmosphere in the story and provide at least 2 examples and explain their impact? Are we almost done? Question one? I'm good.
Yeah, just the last sentence.
Okay. Nathan?
I'm like almost done.
Okay, I'll give you guys a couple more minutes. Okay, I got some couple of answers, so we're going to start taking it up. Let's do number one first. These two first, and then we'll go from there. Okay. George, can you read yours?
Yeah. The answer used the purple sky
Hold on, slow down. Slow down.
Okay, the answer used the purple sky and empty train station with flickering lights to establish a sense of isolation and unease, making the setting feel unsettling from the start. Additionally, the dark house and the motion lights create an atmosphere of suspense and impending danger, reinforcing the idea that something unnatural is present and watching it.
Yeah. So instead of unnatural, you could have said supernatural. Melinda?
The author uses the setting to make a scary atmosphere. For example, Ethan's house sounds normal but also strange, making the reader feel scared. Another example is that the dark hallway makes it sound horrifying and dangerous. The heavy air and strange messages add to the tension. These details make the story more exciting and scary.
Okay. So, the author using the setting to make it, for example, the Ethan house is normal but also strange. Okay. How is it strange? Melinda?
Hmm?
How is it strange?
Because it's like scary, like
What makes it scary?
so in the story, wait, let me read it. Hold on.
Okay.
So like in the story it says like his phone vibrated again, you left the door unlocked. It like makes it like strange because like he doesn't know who texted him.
Well, that's not the setting, right? That's the character, so that's not right. But what you could have said is that makes the reader feel weird because he remembers leaving the porch light on, but now light on, but it's turned off when he came home. Turned off when he came home. Okay? Again, another example is the dark color making a horrifying and dangerous. The heavy air and strange messages add attention to. Okay, so this part is not the setting. So you can talk about the hallways, the dark hallways make it sound horrifying. So there's that. Good job. So this is the only part that doesn't need to be there. Okay, now we have who else's answers there? Okay, we have Melinda's, Nathan, and Jason. So let's read those. I think Nathan goes first.
There were many ways that the author used setting to build atmosphere in the story. One example of this is the beginning of the story. In the text, it talks about the night sky and the train station, but in an eerie way. The author talks about the eerie purple sky and an empty station and the single flickering light. This builds a strong, scary atmosphere. Another example of this is Ethan's home. The author talks about how it was very dark inside, the creaking steps, and the mysterious notebook on his bed. This creates a terrifying atmosphere. Overall, the author made a horrific atmosphere using setting.
Good job. So there are many ways the authors use the setting to build an atmosphere in the story. One example of this is the beginning of the story. In the text, it talks about the night sky and the train station, but in an eerie way. The author talks about an eerie purple night sky with along with again empty station train station. So it's a train station, but you don't have to add it. It would be nice. And a single flickering light. This builds a strong and scary strong. Okay, another example of these is talk about how dark inside with the creaking steps, and the mysterious notebook on his bed that he doesn't own. So that's important to include. He never owned. This creates a terrifying atmosphere. Overall, the author made using the setting. Good job. Uh, Jason, can you read yours?
Initially, the author describes the environment of the train station. For instance, the sky was an airy shade of purple. The station was empty, save for a single flickering light and and distant echo of dripping water, which built atmosphere of scare and eeriness. In addition, it lays the groundwork for the following text and leads to the message.
Okay, good job. So you're right. The author described. Um, Initially, you can just say the author describes. So we can take out initially. The author describes the environment of the train station by by writing about, the eerie sky, eerie purple sky, an empty train station, and a single flickering light. These factors build an atmosphere that is scary and creepy. Let's say another word. It lays down the groundwork for the rest of the story. Okay, you could say the author describes their environment in the beginning. In the beginning. We can add there. How about that? So I summarized what you wrote, but instead of using quotes, use your own words. You can provide examples by like filling out the quotes or using the quotes, but you don't have to use them exactly, okay? Jason?
Okay.
And then I think I got Amy's. Okay, Amy?
We also use setting times to build atmosphere and story. For instance, the first sentence tells us that the sky was an eerie shade of purple, which is not very common in everyday life. It makes readers feel that something unique will happen in the story. Also, when Ethan looked into his bedroom, he noticed a notebook which was not his, and the notebook, a mysterious message appeared. Readers might think that the notebook was a kind of otherworldly power which no one has seen before.
Okay, good job. So, the author used the setting many times to build atmosphere in this prince. Use the setting to build the atmosphere the atmosphere of this story. For instance, the first sentence tells us about the sky, which was an eerie shade of purple, which is uncommon. About the sky, comma, which was about the sky. We can just actually add a period and say it was an eerie shade of purple, which is uncommon in everyday life. It makes reader feel that something unique will happen in the story. Also, when Ethan looked into his bedroom, he noticed a notebook which was not his. Upon the notebook, a mysterious message appeared. Readers might think that the notebook has otherworldly power which no one has seen before. Okay, so Amy, you're on the right track in the beginning, but you see how you talked about a notebook? That's kind of where it went wrong because you were supposed to use the setting itself by adding you talking about the notebook and the message. That's not part of the setting. That's an actual object in the story. Do you understand?
Yes?
So you shouldn't have included that because we're talking about the setting. So the first part is right, but the second part is not, okay? So let's go back to question number 2. Where is it? Can't see it. Right here. Okay, now what role does foreshadowing play in the story? Provide 2 examples and explain how they hint at the climax. I'll give you guys some time. How's the progress on your questions, guys? I didn't get a response yet. I got one, but I need a little bit more. Melinda, George, Amy?
I'm almost finished.
Okay. Okay, I'll give you guys 2 more minutes and then we're gonna start taking up. All right, let's take this up. Um, with Nathan and Jason is next. Okay, Nathan, please start.
Foreshadowing plays many roles in the story. One example of this are the texts that Ethan was receiving. For example, as the story gets closer and closer to the climax, there were many texts that were following up. They were all warning him about the things that he was going to face and the things that he didn't do. This was foreshadowing, and it hinted it at the climax. Another example was the description of the setting. For example, the author throughout the whole story was using words that signify scariness. There weren't any moments that were joyful and positive. This was one of the roles of foreshadowing, which gave hints at the climax. Overall, foreshadowing played many roles throughout the story.
Okay. Foreshadowing played many roles in the story. One example of this are the texts that he was receiving. Okay, first we can take this out and just say as the story gets closer and closer to the planet, many there were many texts following up to it. To it. They were all warning him about the things that he was going to face and things he didn't do. This this was foreshadowing and it hinted the climax. Another example was the description of the setting. For example, the author throughout the whole story was using words that signify scariness. Okay, we're gonna take that and we're gonna say eeriness instead. There weren't any moments that were joyful or positive. This is one of the roles of foreshadowing. This was one of the factors. Okay, hold on. This is one of the roles of foreshadowing. Okay, so we can, instead of saying this, we can say this this aspect of the story foreshadowed the climax. This aspect of the story foreshadowed the climax. Overall, foreshadowing played many roles throughout the story. Good job. Jason, can you read yours?
Oops, sorry. In the beginning of the story, Ethan's phone kept receiving messages that are short and unshort. It will provide readers a sense of creepiness which leads the whole passage. Furthermore, when the last message told Ethan to look up, it hints at the climax and also lost curiosity of readers.
Okay. So the beginning of the story, Ethan's phone kept receiving messages that are short and unsure. It provides the reader a sense of Korean which will lead up to the whole, so we can say which builds the tension for the climax. Comma. So you're going to say comma, which builds the tension for the climax. Um, okay, and then we can talk about furthermore, when the last, okay, we build a climax, so we can say that. So one example would be, you should have listened. You should have listened is a good example of the text messages he received. Because it appears in his own handwriting. Furthermore, when the last mentions it hints at the clouds and roses the curious reader. That is also correct, but you can also add the atmosphere. So the environment is also good at that. The environment that what is that the author used, influenced, foreshadowed a supernatural and creepy story as climax, as he was alone at night in a empty train station with flickering lights. Flickering lights represents supernatural activities. Okay? Jason, I just added one more detail, okay?
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, then we have George and Melinda. Sorry, guys. Yep. George, can you start off?
Yeah.
And
Foreshadowing.
read slowly.
Okay. Foreshadowing builds suspense in the story by hitting at independent, dangerous developments. The first example is a mysterious message, "Don't look back," which suggests that something is already watching him, creating an eerie sense of
Paranoia.
paranoia. The second example is a notebook containing a message in his own handwriting. "You should have listened," which directly foreshadowed the climax, revealing that his fate was sealed from the beginning, that he'd ignored multiple warnings.
Yes, good job. So the first example is already watching creating a sense of paranoia, the sickness. Good job. But George, please start using your own words and writing style to respond to questions. Melinda?
Foreshadowing helps build suspense by giving hints about the danger to Ethan. First, the warning message on his phone, for example, "Don't turn on the lights," and "Too late," tells Ethan that something is watching him. Second, the notebook with messages like "You should have listened" and "They are watching, run," shows that Ethan is in danger. These clues helped get the reader ready for the scary parts when he looked up and sees the eyes staring at him.
Good job. So foreshadowing helps build suspense by giving hints about the danger to Ethan. First, the warning message on his phone. You don't have to say, for example, you can say, don't turn around, turn on the lights, and too late. Informs. So let's say informs. Ethan, that's something is watching. Secondly, the next, or you can say another example is, another example of foreshadowing, building suspense is the notebook with messages like you should listen and they're watching run, as it shows that Ethan is in danger. And if these clues help the reader get ready for, okay, help. So these clues prepare the reader for the climax of the story. Prepare the reader for the climax of the story, which is when he looks up. For the climax of the story, which is when he looks up and sees the eyes staring at him. Good job, Melinda. You did it right. Okay, Amy. Amy, can you start submitting your work on time? You're submitting it after we take up everyone's answer, and that's not really a good look. Can you read it to me?
Foreshadowing appears a lot of times in the story. An unknown person is typing messages to Ethan which Ethan doesn't understand. All of the messages tells Ethan what to do or what did he forget to do. As the story goes into the climax, the messages becomes more and more mysterious. It feels like somebody unknown is controlling everything far away. Also, sometimes in the story, things that Ethan knew that she must have done was not done. This points to climax because these things cannot happen in real life. It makes the atmosphere eerie, preparing for the climax.
Okay, so foreshadowing happens that as an unknown person is typing messages to Ethan, uh, which he is typing cryptic, so that means like weird messages to Ethan, and all the messages tell Ethan what to do and what he forgot to do. As the story goes towards the climax, the messages become more and more mysterious. It feels like somebody unknown is controlling everything far away. Okay, it feels like there is a supernatural being in Ethan's present. Okay, that's what you should have said. It's like there is a supernatural being in Ethan's presence. Also, sometimes in the story, what does this mean? Also, sometimes in the story, Ethan knows what he has done and was not done.
Like Ethan remembers that he has opened the lights, but in reality, the lights are not opened.
Okay. Okay. So the thing is, Ethan actually does remember that the lights were turned on, but the supernatural being turned it off. So you can't use that. But everything else you said is correct. This points to the climax. So we're going to take that part out and we're going to just leave it as that. It feels like there's a supernatural being in Ethan's presence. This points to the climax because as things cannot happen. What is the climax, Amy?
Like the point where it's like uh Like it's
What is it?
the point where is the story goes like
It's basically the main conflict. It's
oh
the main conflict of the story. It doesn't end, it's at the top. The problem happens. So you can say this points to the climax because you can actually just take this out. You can add it here. You notice that as the story goes on, goes towards the climax, the messages become more and more mysterious. That is the perfect way to end it, and you can say it makes the atmosphere eerie, preparing for the climax. Okay? Okay, now let's move on. What is expository writing? Who would I think it was Melinda answered the last. So Amy, can you read this?
cookbooks, the World
Almanac.
Almanac,
Yeah.
scientific reports. These informative nonfiction texts are all examples of expository writing. Expository or informative writing explores, shares, explains, or defines a specific subject or idea. This type of writing does not include the writer's opinion or tell a story. Its goal is not to persuade, and the writer's voice should be neutral. Expository writing is one of the most straightforward yet challenging writing types since it requires writers to present ideas and relevant evidence in an organized, concise, and precise manner. Knowing how to write an expository paragraph will allow one to expository paragraph will allow one to develop their organizational, analytic, and
Analytic.
research analytical and research skills.
Good job. So then that is expository. Then we have problem and solution writing. Can I get Nathan to read this?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. A problem solution essay is an essay that uses analysis of problems and solutions to argue a point. Here we will focus on the specific strategies that can be used to develop a problem solution essay. In particular, there are three strategies that would be useful for writing a problem solution essay: describing the problem, explaining the solution, evaluating the outcome.
Good job. So we're gonna go deep into this one. So when you define the problem, you're asking what is the specific problem that you or your colleagues are concerned about. After you figure that out, you're gonna analyze the problem. So what is the cause, the symptoms, and current methods of dealing with this problem? And then you would provide a solution. So the best solution for this type of criteria, so it's like a pros versus cons list, but it should be mostly pros. Evaluate the solution and its implementation, so effects of the solution and how effective is the solution. So listen to this problem. Plastic is bad for the environment. It hurts animals in the ocean. It's a big problem because there's too much plastic everywhere. People don't recycle enough and it keeps getting worse. The solution is people should recycle more and governments should do something about it. If everyone does their part, the planet will be cleaner and safer. Is this a strong writing solution or a weak one? Jason, is it strong or weak? Is the solution strong?
I think it is weak.
Yes. Now, I want everyone to list 3 reasons why you think this problem and solution writing is weak. I'll go back to it, but we're going to list 3 reasons. So you're going to say the 3 reasons with explanations on why this writing is weak. Okay. Okay, I got 2 responses, so we're gonna take it up. And the people who don't submit it will be your homework. Okay. Okay. So one reason, Nathan, can you start off by reading yours?
One reason why this is a weak problem and solution example is
Sorry, I'm just gonna paste it up really quickly before I forget. Keep going.
is because there isn't enough reasoning. The answer doesn't talk about how plastic is bad for the environment, and it has a lack of examples to support their answer. Another reason why this is a bad example is because they didn't analyze and
Analyze.
and not analyze sorry, analyze their solution in the beginning. They just got to the point and there isn't really any context. Lastly, the third reason why this writing is weak is because their solution is too vague. For example, they talked about how the government should do something about it. They didn't go in depth into that. And that statement was very broad, and because of this answer isn't really valuable and good. Overall, there are many reasons why this piece of writing is a bad example of problem and solution writing.
Good job. So third reason. All your reasons are correct. I'm just gonna add to, not gonna go into too much details editing this because I think this is good enough. And we're not focusing on grammar right here. I just want to learn your points. Another thing that should have been said is that it's very broad and it doesn't actually give a solution. It doesn't provide examples of what the government should do, which is your top point, right? It doesn't provide an actual solution. All right, good job. Jason?
This writing is weak. First, the passage is like a structure. There's not many contents in it. It doesn't have specific details. Second, by reading the problem part, we don't know why the plastic is detrimental to the environment and how many do people recycle. Thus, by reading the solution part, we don't know specific steps to help solve the problem. People won't do it since they have no idea and don't notice the service of doing it.
Okay, good job. So the first passage is right. There's not much context in it. It doesn't have specific details. Second, please, by reading the problem part, the reader will not understand why plastic is detrimental. The reader will not understand why plastic is detrimental to the environment and how many people do recycle. Okay, that's a good point. Lastly, reading the solution part, we don't know specific steps to help solve the problems. Okay, so that's up here. People won't do it. People will, there will not, there is not a solution for as people won't practice the right, practice the ways, the, the solution, practice the steps in preserving the earth. Okay? And all right, so for your homework, on top of what, if you didn't finish already, the homework is to actually turn that weak example into a strong example, okay? So you're going to take that example and you're going to turn it into a strong one, and we'll go from there. Your teacher should be back next week, and I'll see. So, bye guys. Have a good weekend.
I see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.